Ooh, I am the reaper of plant souls, coming to reap your plants. This is the dumbest idea I've ever had. So that was something that none of you needed to see. Anyway, I am back again with another plant video. Today I wanted to talk about the plants that we have that die. You see a lot of people talking about the plants that they have that they're keeping alive and that are growing really well for them, but you never really see people talk about the plants that die for them, that wither away, that totally ruin all faith that they have that they can even grow plants. And myself, just like many other plant parents out there, have a few plants that are dying, that are slowly dying, or are already on their way out, and I think that we need to share a little bit more about those plants and how to care for them and maybe what's going on with them. And man, do I have a few plants that are definitely dying. So stay tuned, and I promise I won't put that mask on again for the rest of this video, or probably ever again. So the first plant that I'm going to talk about is this Alocasia lauterbachyiana. I think that's how you say that, lauterbachyiana, Taylor Lautner Alocasia. I really don't know. And it's pretty sad looking. When I first got this, it had a lot of really big leaves, and what drew me to it were the almost fern-like leaves that it has. These are very small and pathetic looking right now. But alocasias are pretty tough to care for and keep. Alocasias in general like a lot of high humidity, and they like their water, but they don't want to be wet. So they like moist soil, but they don't want wet roots, I guess. They're really prone to root rot. However, one thing about alocasias is that they will die back. So you can see here a leaf that is dead, that I can just cut back here at the base. The problem with alocasias like this is when you lose a leaf, you're basically losing a propagation area, because these leaves grow and propagate from the stems. So if you can see, this one I think is the newest leaf, and it grew out of the base of this leaf. So the more leaves you lose, then the less new growth you're gonna get. But in the winter, they go dormant, and all of this could possibly die off, and they could just be a pot of nothing. And then in the spring, it'll pop back up again. At least, that's what I'm told. And I really hope that it does, because I really like this plant. I was recently at the Toronto Zoo, and there was an Alocasia lauterbachyiana right across from the gorilla enclosure. I think it was like a alligator enclosure or something like that. And it was huge and beautiful, and if I have the picture, I will put it up. And I just want that one, because this one looks pretty sad and pathetic, and it's definitely on its way out. So the next plant that I have that is on its way out is this Staghorn Fern. I wanted to create one of my own staghorn mounts, I guess, and it was really easy to make. Cedar wood, sphagnum moss. You just kind of put the plant in and around sphagnum moss and then tie it up with, I used fishing wire. You're supposed to keep staghorn ferns pretty moist. They're a fern, so they like water. They don't need as much light as some of the other houseplants that you have, some tropical houseplants, but they do need a lot of water. They also need a lot of humidity. When it comes to staghorn ferns dying, there's sort of two ways to tell what the issue is with the staghorn fern, and it's basically how the brown spots lay on the leaves. So if your leaves have brown spots along the tips, that's usually a problem with not getting enough water. However, if the brown and the rotting starts at the base of the leaf and goes upwards, then you have a problem with the roots and it's too wet. Primarily with my staghorn fern, the problem that I found has been at the end of the leaves. They get really brown, and it's sort of been one leaf after the other. This plant had, I don't know, 7 leaves when I first got it, and grew a couple more, but since then they've all slowly died and fallen off. But at the same time, when they've fallen off, they just sort of plucked right out of the base, without any roots or anything, and it looks like the roots have rotted. So I really don't know what exactly is wrong with this. I'm watering it both too much and not enough, apparently. I am hoping that the plant is salvageable though, and that it will keep growing. There are a couple little tiny new leaves that are forming at the base around here. And if this one does die, I will probably go out and get another one, because I really like the way that Staghorn Ferns look, and they're just so cool, and they get massive. Plus, if this one dies, it'll give me a good opportunity to make a Staghorn Fern mounting video for you all, and that seems to be a thing that a lot of plant tubers are doing. So, fingers crossed it does die, but also fingers crossed that it doesn't. So the next plant of mine that is on its way out is this Guzmania. The reason it's dying is really no fault of mine. Bromeliads tend to grow, flower, and then die. I got this bromeliad from friends of mine, and it was in full bloom when I got it. This middle stalk is the flower. So a bromeliad grows, and then eventually it'll grow this flower when it matures. This flower will die, and that's sort of the beginning of the death of the plant. So after this dies, this whole plant will die. And it's just sort of the natural life cycle that bromeliads go through. The way that this plant propagates is through pups, which will pop up on the bottom of the plant. Sort of like a just miniature plant that comes off and grows off the side. It's like a budding kind of effect. But I don't think that my bromeliad got enough light, so it didn't produce any of these pups, which means that the whole thing is just doomed to die. I have created an extinction event of bromeliads in my collection, and there's nothing I can do about it. So this next plant also doesn't really fit in that whole it's dying and it's on its way out kind of theme that I have going, but it's something that I wanted to talk about. This Tricolor, which is also called a wandering Jew, which is an incredibly racist name for a plant. And it may look the worst out of all the plants that I've shown because of all these dead pieces, but it's actually doing the best out of them all. Tricolors are relatively easy to care for. They don't like to be too dry between their waterings. They like kind of a wetter soil. They also like high humidity, which is something that I, again, don't have. But I find that these ones don't need as high a humidity as the Staghorn Ferns or the Alocasias need. So there's kind of a reason that this is on the list. It's not really dying. It's actually doing quite well. However, there is all of this dead growth. Well, I guess it's not growth because it's dead. But there's all this dead plant matter around the base, and that was because those branches were albino. They were all white, and they lasted for a long time. They looked really cool, and then they died. And the reason for that is because they couldn't produce energy from the sun. That's why they died. Plants take energy from the sun and convert it into energy that they can use through chlorophyll. And chlorophyll is mostly found in the green parts of the leaves. So when you have leaves that are completely white and show signs of albinism, they're not going to grow. And they'll last for a while, they'll look really great, and then they will die. So this plant has a lot of new growth on it. It's doing pretty well. It's not ready to die, but unfortunately the white leaves are dead and passed and are on their way to plant heaven, plant Hades, I don't know, wherever plants go when they die. So there you have it. Those are the plants that I have right now that aren't doing too well. Normally, people like to show the plants that are thriving and that are doing great, and I'll get around to a video of that as well, and all of those plants that are doing super well. But I just wanted to share some of the ones that weren't doing so good, and some of the reasons why they weren't working for me, and maybe they're not working for you. So now you have maybe an idea of what to look for, and maybe things to change, whether it's humidity or watering or what have you. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you have any plants that are on their way out and you don't really know why they're dying, or maybe you do know why they're dying and you just don't care, feel free to share that in the comments below. I'd love to hear what plants other people have trouble with, because maybe there are some people who have solutions to those problems, and they'll be able to help you to nurture your plant back to health. So again, thank you for watching. As always, you can find my social media links in the description below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. This thing cost me $6.